Monday for Tony Daunt is a particularly distasteful day. He's the executive director of the Michigan Freedom Fund, and the news now that there will be Joe Biden installed as president of the United States. I don't know what the inaugural will be like, but there's talk that President Trump has already said he will not attend the inaugural, so the peaceful transition of power has become resistant and bitter. But let's not forget, when Donald Trump was elected president, there were a big group of Democrats who kept using the word resist. And so why are they surprised now when the other side says, we'll do the same thing? Tony Daunt, welcome back to the program.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me, and excellent point there at the outset.
Well, I'm wondering now where we go from here. A bit of bitterness, of course, is being displayed, but what happens from this point to voting in the future? Because we have now taught people they can vote at home, they can vote absentee, and if I'm not mistaken, when you do that, you're automatically, permanently put on the list where you'll receive a ballot in the mail without even asking for one, I think. And then by 4 years from now, are we going to be pushing for online voting instead of voting by mail and dropping it off at the office and all that? Look, where do we go from here? Because we're not going back, are we?
I would say we certainly have, it's very likely that absentee, the more people that voted for via absentee this time around is going to continue. And I don't know if we'll see the same type of growth, as we did. It's kind of the perfect storm of this year with the passage of Proposal 3 in 2018, which allowed for no reason absentee voting for any reason. And then the pandemic, which kind of enhanced the need, or the desire at least, for so many people to vote absentee. And I will start with just a gentle correction of what you had stated about folks receiving ballots in the mail moving forward. My understanding of the law is that you will receive an application if you've chosen to be on the permanent absentee list. You'll receive that application without asking for it, but you won't receive a ballot, which is a unnecessary step. And I think it's something that we should continue here in Michigan, where you get an application, not a ballot automatically mailed to you.
Okay, that's helpful, because what if you passed away or moved out of the state or what have you? You don't want any ballots floating around out there that someone else might open and say, I think I'll vote twice. It's exhausting to imagine how this is all processed, and is it done so safely and that sort of thing. And what happens with the media, you think? Because now that we know the quote-unquote media are willing to go all out to advocate instead of report, what are they going to want next? I mean, I watched this weekend Don Lemon weeping on the air. The drama of it was incredible. It's
really. We saw with their coverage, or their refusal to cover, the issue of the Hunter Biden laptop and what was contained in there. Very valid questions from both sides on whether or not what's fully contained in it. Does it mean what one side claims it means? Is it just, as the left would have you believe, it's just Hunter Biden, reckless, unfortunately diseased, with addiction, or the right, that it means that Joe Biden is basically running a criminal enterprise? And I think what you've got is somewhere probably in the middle. But the media's refusal to cover that, the social media and oligarchs in the form of Twitter and Facebook, basically shutting people down for even discussing it, is very troubling. And it leads to some of the conspiracy theories that we see arising from the vote, and some of the irregular issues with our voting and the counting of the votes. Does it mean that there's all this fraud? Highly unlikely, especially at the degree to make a difference in this election. But there are problems that need to be investigated and run to ground and determined how best to fix them without trying to cover it up, without putting cardboard over windows at TCS Center. That just breeds additional mistrust of the media and of people in charge, that I think they deserve that mistrust.
Yeah, putting up the cardboard was really strange, because you can say that you don't want people too close in the room because of COVID, but if you're putting cardboard on a window, I don't really understand that at all. And sometimes some of these wounds, if you want to call them that, are self-inflicted. They're to people doing things that are obviously partisan, and they wonder why people are suspicious.
Exactly right. It's this is a divided country, and it very, I mean, razor thin divided. You look at since 2000 in the presidential election, and how close that was in one state, and really it hasn't changed much since then in terms of, if one side wins everything, for instance, 1 year, almost certainly 2 years later, they regain, the other side regains at least half of the levers of government to throw sand in the gears and slow things down, because they don't like what one side is doing with all of that power. And I wish that leaders of both sides would have a little humility and realize that, and not view it as this is the election where we get to make all the changes we want and run roughshod over the other half of the country. That just breeds additional contempt and fear and like you kind of conspiracy theory of what the other side is up to.
Michigan Freedom Network endorsed 56 candidates. How did you do when all was said and done?
Well, I believe we got 52 out of 56 in the general election that we endorsed, and very proud of those results. And in particular, in some of the races that were really close and contested, we performed really well, and very happy to have been part of that effort to help retain a conservative governing majority in the House of Representatives, and hopefully they'll continue to serve as a check on Governor Whitmer, some of Governor Whitmer's more, kind of, what's the
punitive
word I'm looking for? Punitive, yes, thank you. That's better than the word I was going to use, measures. And I think, again, it shows that this state, just like this country, is divided, and people in the middle in particular are clamoring for leaders to come together and address problems in a way that doesn't seem as though they're trying to put one over on the other side.
And that's what the Michigan Freedom Network protects.